By 2030, 80% of all of us will be gig workers.
You won't have full-time jobs. You're just going to wake up, maybe work in 2 companies, 3 companies together.
What happens to the future HR talent?
Then AI can actually now scout for people who have relevant skills.
What that means is then the company is tapping into what the person is doing at work, all the emails, all the messages and everything. Is it right or wrong? Should you or not? What do you do?
That's the future that we're working on.
This is a very complex situation. This is here to stay.
Vishwam, you've written in your LinkedIn post that across industries, mature GCCs are transitioning from cost-effective delivery units to enterprise innovation and transformation engines. They're driving digital modernization, AI-led process imagination, and business agility at a global scale. This paradigm shift signals a new chapter where GCCs are not just supporting transformation, but they're actually leading it. Right.
Yeah.
In this context, Vish, I would love to hear a few examples of where have you seen this change? What are some of the examples where you've actually seen this change happen?
Great question, Ranak. So first of all, let's talk about the number of GCCs and the number of people that we are looking at in terms of this. So we're talking about close to 1,800 and 1.6 million people are working in this part of the country. The pertinent question that you're asking, there are few organizations within the sectors who have either come slightly early or using agentic frameworks or GenAI framework or, have accelerated the entire transformation journey. And now they're actually doing a transformational work. And they're actually doing something similar to what the HQ is asking them to do, or HQ is doing it. HQ equivalent is what I call it. In terms of companies in retail, omnichannel is a great example. TX strategies, right? Cybersecurity is a great example of one of those things. In banking, we have seen transformation in AI ML platform or adoption kind of thing. In technology companies, we have seen fraud detection kind of engines, right? It's not about all the companies in that sector have done that, but few companies have already done that, and they can claim themselves as a global transformation center as we speak, because they're seeing the value and they're giving the value, which is what is been asked for from their headquarters.
Okay. So then it's time we move away from this moniker, no? Like not capability center anymore. It's a transformation center now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So interestingly, Vishwa, if you could also dive a little deeper to probably just set the context for all our listeners as to, what's a traditional GCC like? And then probably we'll kind of, dive a little deeper, because I want to know at this point in time from your perspective with all the nano GCCs and micro GCCs and everything. So before we delve into that, if you could just spend a little bit of time into what's a traditional GCC today, that looks like.
Exactly 15, 20 years back, there was this terminology called team extension model or team extension kind. It clearly talks about company headquartered across the world, India. This terminology, team extension, is primarily, there is a product team. There are 5 software developers or 10 developers who are building the entire application. And then they see a value in India at certain point in time. And then they say that, okay, why don't we give this work to India? And then they started looking at India as a center where they're seeing a lot of development in terms of back office to basically software development to application development towards, building the entire app from here. Right? That's how this entire business group has set up. So according to me, any company which does exactly what the headquarters have in their terms of team, culture and all that in product and delivery aspects, if they replicate that in India, that's when they can truly call themselves as transformation engine. So every company in some form or shape is a tech company today, whether they call, because they have to be doing transformation, and the only way that transformation can happen is because of technology and the adoption of technology from AI and ML standpoint that we're talking about in the last 5 years.
Interesting. I think everyone keeps defining the shape and form of GCCs, GTCs at this point in time. But I think the true essence, as you said, is if it cuts across all the functions uniformly, then probably we can call it as a GCC. Here's an interesting, report that's available publicly that nano GCCs are likely to kind of, grow year on year in Southeast Asia at 11 to 12%. And I was wondering if you could probably now, define what's a nano GCC or a micro GCC in terms of scope, ways of working, and probably scale as well. So if you could probably just help us define it on these three parameters, it would be great.
Yeah, this is my personal opinion. So any company which has 25 to 100 employees or even 150 employees, and then they are quickly into their Series A funding or maybe Series B funding, and they're expanding outside the local country, which is US or UK and all that, and wanted to see somewhere they would like to look at in India or Southeast Asia. These are the companies who can called as now Nano GCCs. Any company which is 100, 200 to 250 kind of people can be called as Nano GCCs. Now these companies can also call as hybrid GCCs because they know that India is a center for technology talent efficiently in terms of AI and ML. So what they're not doing is not sending all the projects, but they're sending key projects to India, right?
Mm.
ML kind of projects, LLM kind of projects, and building that because India is a big market. Then they will see that, hey, we are doing this, we can also do this, and then these 150 people will drive the entire efficiency, effectiveness, experience of their product or service offering, or maybe generate revenue much more than what they're looking at. Because in India today, in fact, the context is the cost element has increased so much that good engineers are actually available at a cost which is slightly higher, and there's no cost advantage today. It's a value advantage or technology advantage of people having multiple skills. There's another research that I have read from one of these research papers is that there is this concept called total years of experience and 11 years of experience. Because of this AI ML adoption and candidates or employees are very smart, they can now do a job of a 4 year experience, 5 year experience being a fresher. You can be a great software engineer with 15 years of experience. Somebody can do that in 5 years of experience similarly efficiently. The cost is reduced. So now these companies are going after those talent who can actually express themselves, and that's where Nano GCCs are attractive. These companies are hiring from anywhere and everywhere, but then their context is how smart you are. So I feel Nano GCCs are future because the number of GCCs who are coming in as part of the whole ecosystem is much higher than the overall number of other GCCs which are coming in terms of the larger GCCs. So I think we should be ready for that kind of a quality transformation that we need to look at for India today. And last but not the least is there is a lot of intent from US companies because we see that a lot of engineers actually because they work in the US ecosystem and all that, they see that they're already trained in those ecosystems, and a lot of IPs are also getting generated from this part of the world, which also makes us understand that this is a place that they need to invest on.
If you are an HR professional trying to operate into a traditional GCC, nano GCC, micro GCC, would love to know your thoughts and based on your experience at this point in time, what sort of a mindset do they need to develop? Skills that they need to have to be able to be, operationally efficient in this kind of an environment?
So I created a structure for that. It's called as FCFS phenomena: functional skills, critical skills, future skills, and social skills. Right? Let's talk about functional skills. So gone out those days when HR used to do HR work, sales guys used to do sales work and all that. Now they have interdisciplinary teams. They need to understand the function. As a sales leader, I need to understand how HR function really, really works, right? And we have successful examples. In fact, you are a great example where you've done everything across in HR kind of thing, right? So I think those are the kind of examples. So functional skills, you need to have great project management skills in terms of, design thinking. And there is a concept called as velocity thinking and all that stuff, decision velocity. The great research person talked about how do we velocize the way we do things and all that. Then critical skills, then future skills. Now, future skills is very simple. Any technology which is from a social mobile to 3D printing to IoT to cloud computing to AI/ML, there are future technologies that are already available. So, as a functional person within HR, you need to understand which of those skills have relevance in your work, which is functional HR, and pick up that and see how those technologies are implemented. For example, AML is a great example of how candidate discovery can happen. I've written a paper and I've written a book on that, right? So, and there is a great candidate experience that can be driven by Agentic AI kind of. So, pick up that, see how it works, and Create because today a software engineer is HR manager, HR manager is an engineering manager, all of that, right? So we know how it happens. So you need to become functionally very, 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 very strong. You need to exactly know what should the tool look like, how should the workflow look like, and all that. Though you're not a software developer or a developer or an application developer, you can have people working on it, but you should strategize the way that you look at, right? For example, can I predict my attrition? So can I put a number, employee number on a system, and can it tell me how many days the person will stay in this company? That should be your thought process, right? The last thing that I would talk about is social skills, right? Social skills is nothing to do with communication. It's about how do you connect with people, right? India has a great mentorship ecosystem and free of cost. A lot of leaders like all of us would be interested in helping those people. And then most likely we would like to do reverse mentoring also, understanding from their perspective of what's happening, right? So I think FCFS is a phenomenon that I would use, and I always call this to talk to a lot of people whom I mentor today. So
Just another, something that kind of
Hmm.
blew my mind at this point in time was India is poised by 2030 to host 2,500 GCCs, of which 80% are going to be nano GCCs, something which means that you'll be managing a scope of between, say, 50 to 150 odd people, which is a startup in itself, the size of a startup in itself. So I believe what you spoke about, some of these skills, they are universal probably going forward. But back to you, Ranak. I think.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'll just take one pause and I want to double click on something that Vishwa said. Very interesting. I've never heard this before. Velocity thinking. Do you want to double click a little on this, especially with HRs? Because design thinking and all that, it is enough. Like, those who know, right? But velocity thinking, never heard of it. What exactly does it mean?
so it's called as decision velocity from a conceptual standpoint. The second largest tech entrepreneur told this: there will be a point in time in your decision making. Until then, whatever decisions you make, it will not cost much. But
Hmm.
beyond that point, the cost of that decision can be so huge. So until then, don't experiment. There's a guy called Alan Finn. He actually brought this concept of decision velocity. According to him, he says that, hey, don't wait for everything to come in, right? There is an element of risk management, there's an element of experience that we bring into the table and all that, right? So, and that's an addition to that is that let's take an example of recruiting, right? So, if you give somebody to hire this person in 10 days, the guy will take 10 days to hire or
Hmm.
select. Say that tomorrow I need it, that guy will. So, that's how the velocity, and then
Hmm.
you'll not believe that the guy joins 9 day earlier, you will actually make the projects 9 day faster. So, I need to be faster to the market. I need to be
Hmm.
going to first mover advantage. So I'm now trying to weave the point of first mover advantage with decision velocity with design thinking.
Elon Musk actually has the same
Yeah.
principle.
So it's all
Hmm.
about mindset. So that's what he said. And the first example was Jeff Bezos. He said about 70% of the time
Yeah.
you should be ready with your decision. Don't even wait for the entire.
They say time is like gas; it expands
Yeah.
in the room as much as the room. So yeah.
Little thing about Elon. I follow this quite a bit. So I saw someone on Twitter had converted that into a ChatGPT prompt.
Hmm.
That they're writing a ChatGPT prompt that this is what I want to do. Think like Elon Musk and tell me instead of taking X days, if I were to do this in like a crazy 1/10 the amount of time, how should I go about it? And ChatGPT is very good. Like it'll think from a very first principles kind of thinking and give you those. I'm doing it in fact for my
So a
business.
lot of times what happens is thanks to this generative AI, people are using it as a first, right? My simple advice is to do it last. You create your own slides and all that, and ask ChatGPT to elevate it. You will not believe the kind of output it comes up with. Amazing. That's one. Second thing
Mm,
is experiment.
mm,
So technology, the moment when you think like an enabler, it really works. Technology is a problem solver. You should solve the
mm,
problem yourself and then use technology to enable that entire product.
mm. And that's where the all of the talk now that our critical thinking is going away. Um, I'm guilty to that, right? I first used, I mean, I had something in my head, but I first used GPT. But yeah, if we keep doing that, directly go there. And that's also the problem of masses, right? The chat GPT will tell you the same thing. Everybody else has access to that. How much can you prompt engineer to a point? All right, I think this is a great segue into my next question. Vijay, you spoke of agentic AI, like agentic AI, NML, and the advancements that's happening today is obviously going to play a big part in these nano GCCs and micro GCCs, right? For them, velocity, speed, cost, arbitrage, all of that is important. Let's hear some concrete examples on where you've seen agentic AI being actually used, and also maybe towards the end take a lens of someone that an HR professional who is working at a nano GCC and wants to break in can actually use to stand out, right? Let's take both examples, business as well as HR.
The moment when you bring in a decision element or autonomy kind of thing on top of them, that's when the agentic AI thing will actually take birth, right? So now take an example in recruiting. Some of the companies are today claiming that on one side you give a good JD, the JD optimization towards what is told in the JD, toward what are the terms that needs to be used, can be done by AI, right? Now that is done, then AI can actually now scout for people who have relevant skills. That's the power of AI today. So I'm not saying recruiters are gone, but then some companies claim that they have reduced the recruitment number of people that they have. That's an example of typical recruiting. Let's take an example of customer experience. Today, most of the chatbots have got a lot of autonomous information that they can take a call and then they can solve the problem. That's where the role of empathic AI, emotional AI, or responsible AI, or ethical AI will come into picture, right? So emotional AI is, for example, there was a recent meme. So the husband and wife talk happens. So um, husband tells ChatGPT that, hey, 5 plus 3 is 9 is what my wife says. Do you think you agree? And this is no, it's not a 9, it's 8. Then ChatGPT understands that, or OpenAI understands that it's inner time, right? So it says, go ahead and say that 5 plus 3 is 9, right? Now they're thinking. Now, if they start thinking, then you know what happens, right? They can start thinking like us, they can start acting like us. And there will be a singularity point, they can mimic everything like us. I'll go back to HR because that's my favorite. So, culture and employee retention companies are using agentic AI, and companies who are really interested about their employees are taking care of those employees by understanding their interests even before the employees are saying it. That's one example that I can talk about. Attrition management is something that I spoke about. Top talent management, few companies have already claimed that we know who our top talent is, which is obvious. We also know how engaged is our top talent, right? By not just doing the surveys of any of these kind of, right? So they're claiming, which means that they have done some scientific way of looking at it, right?
Got it. So again, I like to stir up controversy. So I want to go back on what you just said, and I tried it myself. So you mentioned top talent engagement, right? What that means is then the company is tapping into what the person is doing at work, all the emails,
Absolutely.
all the messages, and everything.
In the
Is it right
Vishwanadh.
or wrong? Should you or not? Like, what do you do?
So, see, I'll give you a very, Rama and Mahabharata answer. If you
Oh,
have two
lovely.
good intentions, you don't have a problem. For example, there was this report which says that by 2030, 80% of all of us will be gig workers. Which
Yeah.
means I don't want to look at your past. I would like to ask you the 10, 15 questions. And if you answer those questions and if you are able to respond to me the way I would want to hear, you are in, right? Now, the loyalties have been changing. The way people are thinking has been changed, right? So, if it is used in a right intention to save or to make sure that things are good, it is good.
That's fair. And this is exactly what Elon also said yesterday on Nikhil's podcast that 2030 he won't have full-time jobs. He's just going to wake up, maybe work in two companies, three companies together. And that's where again what your baggage of the past is gone.
There's a concept which is coming really, really well, fractional. Okay.
Ah, yeah.
Uh, Fractional can be added to any other, could be talent. Now, they're saying fractional GCs. So, fractional talent is the future. Fractional is a term that is used. And couple of analysts that we're talking to, they're saying that maybe first 6 months we are okay for a person to work only 4 hours, which means that they're okay to pay 4 hours and they're okay for this person to work in any other company. So we are already seeing the trend.
So I have two questions, and probably we could brainstorm about it as well. Number one is what happens to, from the future HR talent. Number two, this is a very complex situation. This is here to stay. It's not just about Elon Musk talking about it, but I think we are already seeing people opting to be contractual or wanting to kind of have that flexibility of work and so on and so forth. So as an HR, I think I'm intrigued at this point in time. How do we solve for this problem? So what are some of your thoughts?
So 10 years back, if your question was similar, my response was, I would want somebody to really understand the problem and solve the problem, right? Whichever is that, it could be any function of HR. Today, my response is, can you identify a great opportunity or a problem and solve the problem, right? I'll give an example. In my previous organization, we used to have this intern who used to always ask questions. My juniors used to get frustrated because of the questions, but I always started thinking that why are you asking these questions? Then she always said that this problem is solved very easily. Why are we making so complicated? What I'm trying to say is that you don't need to know how to solve the problem, but you need to spot the opportunity, and that doesn't come just because your knowledge. It also comes when you read up a lot, right? When you meet a lot of people, right? I'm working with somebody. We are creating a talent discovery algorithm where the algorithm just understands what kind of people will suit this kind of role, right? And it will ask you whether I'm typecasting before even it makes a decision, right? So that's where the role. So if I just say yes, then it would only give me some homogeneous kind of people. I'll challenge that algorithm, say that hey, I'm sure you are missing out on some people, right? I'll give an example, right? So software developer, if you go by that keyword, you will only find 100 people. Software engineer, if you add, you will get another 200 people. Software design. So then you need to understand how this is called in different companies, and those people also will come into your funnel. You need to ask questions. Then you need to have that product mindset of thinking like a business person, solving this problem, right? HR roles are not functional anymore. You cannot sit together and say that, hey, this you are talking about technology, that's not my problem. You have to say that, okay, this is a technology problem. I will work with the technologists to build this problem and I'll come back to you with a solution. So I think enabling is, as a leader, we have to enable. As an individual, they have to really look at identifying the problem or thinking about and solving the problem.
Would also love to know from you. You've been a serial entrepreneur, you've ran the business, you've been the HR for startups at this point in time. Over the next 5 years, I believe, like, the talent density, managing gig workers versus permanent employees versus contractual employees. Uh, how do you look at it from both
Hmm.
perspectives, like from a business point of view as well as from an HR
Hmm.
point of view?
Summary of that answer would be very similar to what Vishwa had said. Like there is that post I had said that there's a pyramid of people who excel, right? People, I think the last one is people who ask for problems. Then there are people who find problems. Then there are, but look for solutions. Then there are people who actually find a problem, solve it, and then come to you, right? I think broadly that's the kind of people everyone wants to work with. It's a section of workforce which is largely in our market now that people like to bash on is the Gen Zs, right?
Yeah,
Calling it
yeah.
out. I have had the most wonderful experiences working with them because they're challenging, the norms. They're challenging where they're born with tech, right? We were not born with tech. We used dial phones and all of that, right? We've attuned our mind to AI and we are still doing that. For them, like there's going to be probably a next generation of people who are born with AI. They're only going to be thinking on AI. So they are going to challenge stereotypes, challenge the way we've been doing things. So yeah, exciting times, and I'm very bullish on that segment. Like for my business also, I'm actively only hiring young people. Even if you've never done it before, if your intent is there, if you think AI first, uh, you learn how to do it. Like for example, I'm hiring a recruiter, right? I mean, it's not a rocket science. You can learn that skill. But are you somebody who thinks with AI first? You have the hustle, then for sure, like it'll take a month probably to train that person, but that person will be so much more productive than somebody who's just used to, oh, if I don't have a Naukri, I won't be able to do any hiring and all of that.
I have a couple of recruiters, Saurabh, who use only Google to search people. They don't use any of these job sites. And
Yeah.
they claim that, any role that you are looking at, the best person that you should look at is the person who is not looking for opportunities.
Yeah, very interestingly, when you spoke about Gen Zs and favorite bashing segment as such, My nephew, very recently, I was having this conversation with him on how to kind of use the Boolean search on Google and so on and so forth. And, he kind of gave me that weird look to say that, aren't you using any of the AIs kind of thing? And I realized that the search engine or the search thing, websites like Google, back in the day, Yahoo, seems to have been replaced by the AI tools now. So I realized it that the next in the next, beyond that generation may not even use Google per se. But yeah, interesting. But thanks for that.
Since you brought up tools, what are the tools you would prescribe? And I want to keep it to HR because that's the audience, that's the folks listening in. I'm sure everybody uses AI, right? Let's not assume that somebody who doesn't know AI, but somebody who uses AI. What are the tools you would prescribe for that person to sort of 10x their output at work?
Perplexity, because that's doing a really great job in terms of that. So the way AI works is you can learn prompting, but you cannot learn context. You cannot make the system
Absolutely.
work, right? So you need to have the context and you can have the prompting, right? Context and prompt engineering, I think we spoke about. Then there is this intelligent, Maya and Olivia is one of the products that I have a great fan of. They're chatbots, but really can, pass a lot of 150 applications to 50 applications to 10 applications and all that. In AI, agentic AI, there's a concept called as hyper-personalization. Right? Second is data kind of automation kind of, right? So you have not seen a CV or you have reviewed a CV, but you do not like, you don't want the person to wait. You can say that, hey, it's taking some time and all that. So those algorithms can actually take a decision to say that it may take another 2 days because based on the way you work in the system, right? And it will prompt you saying that, hey, Vishwa, you did not respond to Saurabh. I have responded on your behalf, doing personalization. Tomorrow is the last date, and he or she will expect response from you. Please do that. And then when I do the response, it will understand from the response from a machine learning standpoint. It will start looking. So that is one that we are experimenting on. We are now creating a recruiterless, product. No recruiters are required is what we are claiming. But then we have experimented with 8 jobs already in the last 1 week, and 7 jobs we were able to find talent without, recruiters. So that's the future that we are working on, and we are now learning along with the systems.
Awesome. If you're okay, we'll share links of whatever you want to share for the audience in the description. People can go and check it out. By the way, I have a personal question, and this is very pertinent to the folks that I hang out with. I typically part of the startup world for the last almost 15 odd years. And what I'm seeing now is from my function in the HR function, working in startups, do you want to move to GCCs, right? Because
Well,
there are there are obvious very good reasons for it. My one close friend is also trying to move into GCCs and leave the startup world.
we are seeing 8 or 10% of startups doing extremely well, but 90% of them they are not doing well. Right? Now, if you are really looking at how GCCs work, and I'm sure many companies are interested in, because at the end of the day, there are no filters applied today. 10 years back, if I am a retail company, I'm putting a filter of these target companies, and I'm only searching for them. Today, my filter is clean. Right? You need to sort out what you want to do, which are the companies who would like to have those kind of skills, and ensure that your GitHub, Stack Overflow, and LinkedIn profile really reflects your this thing.
What about for HRs? Because it's slightly difficult for people in the HR team, right?
Same thing applies here also. So if
Okay.
somebody says that Vishwa from 10 people to 150 people have built these organizations grounds up. So only thing is that there are FCFS stuff or terminology that I mentioned, right? Future skills, functional skills, critical skills, and social skills. Those skills have to be reflective upon your profile in some form or shape, right? If somebody says that, hey, we experimented with this agentic AI framework and we solved this problem for this organization, we'd like to happy to talk about it. That's what they have written. But that person becomes an applicant for me because that's the same problem that I'm facing today. So you need to have your social footprint. Obviously, taking out the data accuracy, data privacy issues, and all that, creating a social footprint for yourself. What you've learned, what you need to do, what you want other people to know about you, and make it so systematic that people will look forward for your content. And I'm sure today's content is not looking at the experience of the person who's writing the content. If it is rich enough, I have followed 18 to 19 interns content today. So if it is rich enough, I will also follow.
I love that you bring that up. I can't tell people enough. Please write on LinkedIn. People then. I've been writing on LinkedIn for past 5 years. Many people have come and made fun of me, but the benefits of it are far immense. Like serendipity, right? I believe in serendipity and luck and expanding your footprint, like you said, your surface area of luck. Um, okay, Saurabh, questions from you. I know I've been
No, no,
going on
that's
and on
okay. I
and
think,
on.
this is a fantastic conversation. I'm loving it, equally kind of, absorbing as much as possible. But I definitely wanted to tap onto something that Vishwa recently launched, or I think made it public. So, Vishwa, on the same lines, maybe, and keeping the tradition of this show, maybe if you could just take 3, 4 minutes and quickly help us understand about the AI framework that you kind of got it patented. If you
Oh
could
yeah, yeah, yeah.
probably give
You
us a
should.
quick masterclass about it, I think
And
one, it will help us keep the tradition, and number two, we will also get to know it in short.
so this is the model. So I'm a great fan of PCMM and CMMI level 5 models. Saurabh, you know this. Anybody else than anybody else, right? So I have said that okay to myself that can I take a PCMM level 5 framework and instead of maturity model in the way HR functions, can I use a maturity model same level 5 same, but in HR I would put an agentic AI in HR, right? Now let's take an example. Agentic AI at level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. Right? Level 1 is the data is available, data is talking to each other, and data is giving you some signals that you should do something. Level 2 is signals are translating to some actions in some functions of HR, not all functions of HR. Right? Level 3 is we see some success and one function could be DA. Everything happens through agentic AI there. One function, like right from screening to sourcing to candidate discovery to all of that is happening through AI. Obviously, there's a human intervention. And then level 4 is all the HR systems are integrated. So, example, Ranak, is that when I shortlisted Ranak as an employee in this organization, as an HR interview and a business interview, I figured out that there are 3 skills which are required for you to develop over a period of time, and it really helps the overall project. And those 3 are not detrimental skills for you to not to shortlist you. Then that knowledge is picked up by L&D on the day one of your joining. It gives a L&D map for you for the next 3 months. That these are the 3 skills. These are the 3 different coaches that you need to talk to. These are the 3 websites that you need to go through, right? And that is connected to performance management system and all of that. Then so that is level 4. Now level 5 is you're doing really well, but see, there is this company who is doing better than you. What can you learn from them? Then, if you do that, you will become a industry head, industry expert, right? Hyper personalization is one example of that, right? So sometimes, based on our mindset, based on what's happening on our health, our emails are also like that. So it gives a signal to the hiring manager saying that hey, this person needs some help. So that's what is called as personalization. And in my experience of talking to 75 companies, only 3 companies have come to level 4. Level 5 is still there. So I would want every company to be at level 5, and that's my view.
I think that's very interesting. Hopefully, just the way we have the CMM level, and PCMM levels and everything, we tomorrow have something called as agentic maturity level, maybe something of that sort. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and see, yeah, I mean, just think of that. If what Vishwa said actually happens, then just the world is such a better place. Like the workplace is such a better place. We all want to do good work. We all want to be taken care of. We all want to have paths and recommendations given to us. Like I think 9 out of 10 companies don't do it. But yeah, I think more sort of closing thoughts or closing questions from your side.
Think I loved it, and equally it kind of inspired. I've made a few notes. Some of them are going to be like my follow through as well. To all the listeners, there were many pearls of wisdom that were kind of thrown in this conversation. Pick up what mostly resonates with all of you. Vishwa, thank you so much for sharing your experience, not just from a nano and a micro GCC point of view, but in life in general. I think as an HR
Absolutely.
professional, this means a lot to us.
And Vish, I think before we go, where can people find you? I know they can't find you on LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn is maxed out, but I'll leave your email ID if you have any closing thoughts to people and your company, if you want to just talk about it.
So I think I don't know who said this, but stay hungry, stay foolish. I think
Steve
Steve
Jobs.
Jobs. Being stupid is the best way to learn things. Otherwise, and one thing that we always have this problem being in this part of the country and the world is that we always have some perception about something already, right? I think that's something is with way to stay back and I go back to Simon Sinek saying that if you are a leader, you need to listen to everyone and then add value than just telling everyone what they need to do and then just creating that, right? So everyone is a leader, right? So they need to have that attribute of, hey, I can solve this problem, right? Second thing I would want to talk about is, there are a lot of people available to help you outside your structure and all that stuff, right? Leave a message, 10 messages, three of them will definitely be responding to you. Third is, reverse mentoring for all of us, right? So today, if we sit together and we think that we know everything, that's not the case. My 30-year-old son is much smarter than me. So I learned from him today. I learned from Saurav. I learned from you. So you should always be ready to learn, right? So I think these are three perspectives that I would like to leave with, and I can answer any questions on my follow channel. I'm more than happy. And let's look forward for another session like this.
Awesome. This was awesome. Thank you, Hisha. Thanks, Autumn. We should for sure do a part 2 of this
Yeah.
sometime later. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.